Howdy, howdy. Next up in our toolbox, lesson 7, we're going to learn how to write in equations if we are given 2 points. So that's your learning target. Given 2 points, I can write an equation in slope-intercept form. Huzzah! Just to warm up our brains in some of the other places that we have found slope, do these quick warm-ups, finding slope from table and finding slope from a graph. And for both of these, remember, we will be using change in y over change in x, which is the same on graphs as saying rise over run, or our rate of change. All right, come on back and see how you did. All right, here's what I got. The table I felt like was pretty self-explanatory. Your change in y is 8, change in x is 2, so we have a slope of 4. The cell phone plan, I think the trickiest part here is remembering that we really need to pay attention to what is happening on our x and y axes. So I did see a number of people in the journal problems looking at this as a change of 1, when in reality what's happening right here is we are increasing by 20. And then again, this is not a change of -2 right here because our scale is increasing by 4s. So that's actually a change of -8. Alrighty. So our next step is we're going to, given 2 points, let's see how we can find the slope. And there's a formula for this. Make sure you have this written down. And that is m equals, and the way this reads is m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And so what we're going to do is designate our first point. And since this is an x and a y and it's our first point, we're going to call this x sub 1 and y sub 1. And then we'll designate our second point. Again, that is going to be our x sub 2 and y sub 2. This is just going to help us make sure that we are keeping our ratio in check. And then we can go ahead and start plugging things in. So I'm going to say that m equals, and again, so I need y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So my y sub 2 is 4. So I'm going to say 4 minus my y sub 1 is 6. And again, I'm getting that. Here's my y sub 2, and here is my y sub 1. And then I'll go down and do my x's. So my x sub 2 is -3 minus my x sub 1, so -1. Again, you find those. There is my x sub 2, and here is my x sub 1. And then you just calculate it out. So we're going to say that m equals 4 minus 6 is -2. -3 minus 1 is -4. Simplify that down. That means that my slope of these two lines is +1/2. There is a line that would pass through both of these points, and it would have a slope of +1/2. So the purpose of being able to find this slope of a line that passes through 2 points is that we can use it to write the equation of that line that it passes through any 2 points. And your first step is going to be to find that slope, and then, so using that same formula we just saw, and then we will use the slope and one of the points, plug that into our y equals mx plus b format, substituting our x and y and the slope, and then we can solve for b. And then we'll just make sure that equation is in slope-intercept form using the slope and the y-intercept. Let's go ahead and give it a try for these two. So again, I'm just going to write out my formula for step 1. There's my formula. I'm going to fill that in for my values. And it really is helpful for me when I'm organizing my work to designate which of the points is going to be my sub 1s and which of the points is going to be my sub 2s. Okay, so fill in what we got. Okay, so this all works out to having our slope m equals 18 over 15, which we could simplify down, divide both by 3, and we will get that is 6 over 5. So our slope is 6/5, and we now have one important key piece. So for this next piece, you can pick any point for step 2. It'll work for both, since both of those points are input and output pairs of the same function. We've just designated it so. I'm always kind of looking for which one looks the easiest for me to use. So I'm going to go ahead and use my first point. So I'm just filling, remember we're looking for y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to say, I'm going to use the point 0, 18. And I know that m equals 6/5. Okay, so what we're going to do is plug in what we know. We have a y. Our y is 18. Let me go ahead and color code that. So our y is 18. So we're going to say 18 equals, we have an m. Our m is 6/5. We have an x. It's 0. And lastly, plus b. And b is what we're solving for. This one's going to be pretty simple because 18 equals 6/5 times 0. So we're going to plus b. 6/5 times 0 is just 0. So we've got 18 equals b. And boom, we're there. Easy as that. And now that we have both m and b, we can say for step 3, our equation, or what this function is that y is going to equal 6/5 x plus 18. So the line that passes through the points 0, 18 and 15, 36 is the function y equals 6/5 x plus 18. So kind of a lengthy process, but I know I find it quite satisfying. So here are some points for you to play around with. Go ahead and work through all 3 steps. First, find your slope. Second, replace x and y with one of the xy values from one of your points and only one of your points. And then put it in y equals mx plus b form. Go ahead and pause it, come on back and see how you did. It's the initial slope. So m equals 15 over -3, which is going to be equal to -5 over 1, or just -5. There's our m. I like to write it down. Okay. Okay, so I chose the first point. You might have chosen the second, so it might look a little different for you. But I came up with the equation 18 equals -5 times 12 plus b. Solve for b. Add 60 to both sides. And you get 78 equals your b. That's a pretty huge y-intercept, but that's totally acceptable. And just in case you chose the other point, here's how that would work out. So you would end up with this, add 45 to both sides, and you would have ended up with the same thing of 78 is equal to b. Just so you know, no matter which point you pick, you'll get the same y-intercept. Okay, and so our last step, just plug in what we have. We have our m and we have our b. So we can say that y equals -5x plus 78. Okay, grab your journal problems, give them a shot. Good luck, y'all.